The sea and its unique inhabitants. You don't always have to travel to exotic countries. Many miracles happen in unexpected locations. Tiny dramas, magnificent spectacles. The North Sea and the Baltic, as we have never seen them before. The Baltic Sea. At around 8,000 years old, it's the youngest sea on Earth. With a surface area larger than Germany, and extremely shallow, with an average depth of only 50 meters. That and limited water exchange make this sea very vulnerable to climate change. In Estonia, we can see how global warming is affecting wildlife. This is Saaremaa Island. Flanked by dozens of small sandbanks. Every year, they welcome grey seals. They're here in February to raise their young. The babies suckle every 2 to 3 hours to grow as they should. Quite straightforward, but in recent years that has changed. It's just too hot. Thousands of years ago, their ancestors came here from the Arctic. Their fat layer is way too thick. It insulates them perfectly in the icy sea, but now they're tied to the shore to nurse their young. When the sun burns down, they're at risk of heat stroke. Cold water brings relief, but that means abandoning their little ones. A dilemma for this mother. Her daughter is just a few days old. She urgently needs to drink, but her mother is too far gone. She's completely overheated. The female is torn. But she has no choice. The baby doesn't seem to realize her mother is in the sea. Unsettled, she tries to snuggle up to another seal. She's not heard, but she isn't welcome anywhere. Running the gauntlet between the adults only weakens her. She needs a place to rest. Other babies have the same problem. In their distress, they seek contact with each other. And so the little one does get a bit of physical closeness. Seals didn't always suffer like this. Grey seals normally give birth when the Baltic is frozen. But weeks ago, the ice started to break. Now it's mostly too thin for the seals. The sea around Saaremaa should be frozen well into March. But satellite images from recent years show that those times are over. The ice is melting earlier and earlier. So today the seals are forced to make the islands their nursery. That pushes them to the limit. The heat leads to increased calorie consumption. As a result, females produce less milk. Sometimes they stay in the sea for hours to cool off, though they should be feeding their young. It's a vicious circle. Meanwhile, this mother is back, and there are babies everywhere. But where is her daughter? However hard she tries, she can't find her. Her little one is on the other side of the island, trying to stay close to another baby. But it's already dead. A sadly all too familiar situation. If their mothers stay away too long, babies don't stand a chance. All because Baltic ice is melting earlier due to climate change. The baby has got lost in the interior of the island. Closely followed by a female. The baby's nervous. She doesn't dare make an approach. Is that her mother? Only smell can dispel all doubts. Both are at the end of their tether, but happily reunited. They face an uncertain future. Today there are about 5,000 grey seals here. Thanks to strict protective measures, their numbers have doubled since 1990. Back then, it was mainly industrial pollution that affected the animals. But now, a new collapse seems imminent. They have no way of coping with global warming. Unlike pollution, climate change isn't going to stop overnight, no matter how quickly they legislate. Over 700 kilometers to the west, another change is causing major problems. In the Danish islands. This is Mons Klint. Its chalk cliffs soar more than 100 meters above the sea. This beautiful coastline is in stark contrast to the scene underwater. Large stretches of the Baltic's seabed are barren sand and sediment. Only a few species can survive this hostile environment. But one creature can change that. The blue mussel. Uniquely, it forms gigantic colonies in the Baltic Sea, transforming the desolate sandy bed into a habitat for multiple species. But how does it do it? The secret is in these filaments. Sea silk. Mussels use them to link themselves in a giant network, where every individual has a little wiggle room to move. The silk is both tear-proof and very elastic. That's how the mussels stop the current from washing them away. Mussels filter food particles from the sea. A fringe on the entry inlet stops them ingesting oversized particles. On the other side, the filtered seawater exits. A mussel the size of a walnut filters about 1 liter of water an hour. Healthy colonies are made of tens of thousands of mussels. Together, they work like a mighty sewage plant, ceaselessly cleansing our seas. But one creature seriously threatens the mussels. The starfish. There's a small red dot on the tips of its arms. An eye-like sensory organ used for orientation. It's surrounded by special scent tracers. They lead the starfish to its objective. Blue mussels. The mussel has detected the attack. The starfish gets it in a stranglehold. The mussel squeezes its shell closed in defense, but in that position it can't breathe. They wrestle like this for hours. Until the mussel literally runs out of air. The starfish thrusts its stomach into the shell and sucks the mussel out alive. The rest is left to the gobies. Together with other species, they all form a community where everyone has a place. Small snails move through the colony like miniature lawnmowers, keeping it free of algae. Baltic prawns also look for food here. So do pipefish. Without the mussels, other animals like these frilled anemones would never find a solid base. The mussels turn the desolate sandy bed into an underwater city for sea life. On its own, their enemy, the starfish, is no serious threat to the colony. But more and more often, it comes with reinforcements. The mussel population has been declining for years. Perhaps that's why the colonies that remain attract so many starfish. The vital importance of mussels has long been unappreciated. Even though they can colonize the sandy seabed, they find it much easier to grow on rocks. Between 1920 and 1965, 100 million tons of boulders were removed from the Baltic Sea, used to build moles, dams, and seawalls. Today, concrete blocks hide the desolation underneath. The mussels were robbed of a habitat twice the size of Paris. Now their numbers are down by 90%. In the process, this destroyed other animals' habitats, and the self-cleaning powers of the Baltic were massively weakened. It's not just habitat loss threatening mussels. In recent years, rising water temperatures have become another problem. This hits the animals that feed on mussels especially hard, right here in the middle of the Baltic. East of Bornholm are the Pea Islands. One of them is Frederiksö. It was once a military base encircled by a high stone wall. At the beginning of May, you can hear unmistakable calls. Eider ducks. They've been mating here for the past few weeks. The females need to find the best nesting sites. The shores of Frederiksö offer some good options. While they're nest sitting, the birds won't eat. They can't leave their eggs unattended. For a good reason. Herring gulls are keeping a close eye. Scouring every inch of the shoreline. If they find an unguarded nest, it's easy pickings. To escape the gulls, some females have retreated to the center of the island. Dense bushes offer plenty of hiding places. A female has been brooding under this bush for weeks. Successfully. The chicks are hungry and impatient. To find food, they'll have to go out to sea. But it's a long and dangerous walk from the center of the island. Many other mothers have already set out. That's what the gulls were waiting for. They're after the chicks. The long march to the sea is a nightmare for mothers and offspring. There's only safety in the group. The mothers circle the wagons. Forming a kindergarten is the only way to keep the attackers at bay. The females that breed on the shore don't have the same problems. They have other difficulties. Eider ducks lose up to 40% of their weight as they brood. Birds outside the walls have no defense against the weather. And so they consume more energy than the eider duck females in the center of the island. This is a problem because of their special diet. They usually eat their fill of mussels in the winter and so build up fat reserves for the breeding season. But the mussels are changing. Normally, they slow down their activity in the winter. They save energy. But now, with global warming, their metabolic rate remains high. So the mussels lose weight in the cold season. The eider ducks swallow the mussels whole and don't realize what they're missing. That means many arrive at the breeding grounds already undernourished. This applies to all eider ducks. But for those breeding on the shores, it has clear consequences. Some nests are already deserted. The walk for the chicks to the sea is shorter, but more and more, they don't get the chance. Many mothers on the shore have starved to death. The nest in the bush is empty too. The mother here was successful. But her chicks hatched very late. Now the family has to walk to the water alone. This won't go unnoticed. And here's another problem. A 5-meter wall between the family and the sea. They have to get down. It's easy for the mother. For the still flightless chicks, it's an enormous test of courage. They don't hesitate. It's a shock for the mother. But to save the other chicks, they must move on quickly. Her goal is to join a nursery in the water. At last, her offspring are safe. In the last few years, the population of eider ducks here has dropped by almost 40%. Less because of the gulls than because of the malnutrition of the females. That must change fundamentally if eider ducks on Frederiksö are to have a future. The effects of climate change on the animal world can also be seen on neighboring Bornholm. In November, fish reach the coast from the vastness of the Baltic. Sea trout. What draws them to Bornholm? The island is about 40 kilometers long and 30 wide, not even half as big as London. In summer, tourists flock to the endless sandy beaches and Northern Europe's largest ruined castle. In winter, the island's rugged beauty is unappreciated. In the heart of Bornholm, there are many brooks and streams. They're the reason the sea trout come here. They come to mate, and to do this, they must return to their native rivers. The sea trout have a hard time at this river, Blue-Copper Å, because their access to the river mouth is blocked by this sandbar. They either need powerful waves to break down the barrier, or rain to make the river rise dramatically. At Blue-Copper Å, the trout have been waiting for Mother Nature's help for weeks. Their strength is fading. The hardest part is still ahead of them. If something doesn't happen soon, the fish will have to leave their goal unachieved. It will all have been in vain. But there is hope. A storm is brewing. the sea trout can tell. This is their chance. More and more are going for it. It's all or nothing. Everything's at stake. Only the strongest get through. They've reached the island, only to encounter the next hurdle. Rapids. No time to rest. Only those that are still strong enough have a chance. Not everyone makes it. Many sea trout lose the fight. Blue copper O washes them back into the sea. Upstream, the strongest have reached the finish line. Females prepare spawning pits with their tails. Then, stimulated by the males, they lay thousands of eggs. Sea trout, like all trout species, can only breed in fresh water. The salinity of the Baltic Sea would kill the eggs. After the young sea trout hatch, it'll be more than a year before they're ready to return to the salty Baltic Sea. Till then, they spend their time in blue copper O. "60 years ago, twice as many sea trout visited Bornholm's rivers. But overfishing and pollution caused a dramatic decline in stocks. The downward trend was halted by strict legislation. But now, climate change is slowing population recovery. The storms are less likely to come at the right time. So the route to the rivers of their birth is often blocked. The right breeding habitats are vital for the survival of a species. But adaptability to change also plays an important role. One Baltic Sea creature is a master of adaptation. It's everywhere. A small, rocky oasis at the bottom of the sea. The birthplace of creatures that seem completely inconspicuous. Smaller than the head of a pin. Hundreds of them in a space the size of a teacup. Polyps. Sometimes they wait years for the right moment. Now and then they eat a little plankton. Otherwise they make few demands of life. But when conditions are right, an amazing transformation begins. The polyp breaks off into star-shaped segments. Each has a life of its own. The polyps are constantly reproducing. Any one can copy itself 20 times over. The current carries the clones into the open sea. You have to see an adult specimen to know what this creature really is. A moon jellyfish. In early summer, their time has come. They form swarms of thousands of individuals. They eat fish larvae in their millions. It's a huge problem. The Baltic is not only being overfished by humans, fish larvae are being eaten by jellyfish too. An army with no bones, no blood, no brain. And that's what makes them so resilient. These cnidarians are the big winners in a changing world. To reproduce, jellyfish need solid ground. Many places in the Baltic Sea were unsuitable for them. In the last few decades, we have changed that. A carelessly discarded liquor bottle becomes a breeding ground for jellyfish. Research shows that polyps love these artificial reefs. Whether they're metal, plastic, or glass. If so many jellyfish are spawned on such a small bottle, what must the base of one of these wind turbines look like? Energy from wind power, fundamentally a good idea. After all, it could slow the pace of global warming. But the foundations of wind farms are perfect for polyps. They create solid ground in the open sea where it didn't exist before. With major changes like this in the Baltic, there could be even more jellyfish in the future. That would further upset the delicate ecological balance. The resilience of jellyfish is legendary. Almost all other animals demand more of their habitat, especially for their young. Finland offers a good example. Thousands of small islands west of the capital, Helsinki. The Finnish Archipelago. A plant grows here that is seriously unappreciated. Seagrass. It conquered the entire Baltic Sea, turning empty stretches of sand into oases for sea creatures. For one animal, the underwater savanna was so ideal it even modified its shape in the course of evolution. The broad-nosed pipefish. It demonstrates just how far adaptation can go. In order to find its way in the tangle of plants, it can move its eyes independently of one another. This male pipefish has hardly any enemies. Its camouflage is simply too good. It's April. Mating time. A female. Making eyes at her isn't enough. A wriggle and a shake may do more. Unlike most animals, it's the male that carries the young. The female passes him the eggs. It's quite a delicate maneuver. Done. The father has taken the orange-colored eggs. They're safely stowed deep in his ventral pouch. He's not really pregnant, but the young will grow inside him until they're born. Pipefish usually hunt in the daytime. But this father-to-be must build up his reserves. It's one thing to catch an opossum shrimp. It's quite another to eat it. This'll be a long night. The tiny shrimp led him a merry dance. Oh no. Okay. Seagrass meadows are not just a habitat for lots of species, they play a vital role in our climate. Like all plants, seagrass absorbs carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, releasing oxygen. While its leaves constantly renew themselves, its root system under the sand can survive 1,000 years. This longevity means seagrass binds more CO2 than tropical rainforests. Father Pipefish has got lethargic. For 3 weeks, 100 babies have been growing in his ventral pouch. Now his offspring are sliding out. Though only a few minutes old, the tiny fish are completely independent. Seagrass meadows are among the most important habitats of the Baltic Sea. This is a real superplant. The pipefish adapted to it over millions of years. We have almost wiped it out in a few decades. Sewage and fertilizers are extremely hard on the plants. And unsuspecting Sunday sailors are taking care of the rest. Seagrass is now being planted again. Protecting it is vital for the survival of many species. The Baltic Sea is in the midst of momentous change. Habitat loss, overfishing, and now global warming are taking a terrible toll of this unique body of water. Now it's up to us to make the Baltic safe for the world to come.